There is a specific frequency of silence that makes your eardrums ache. You only find it deep in the Appalachian backcountry of Pennsylvania, where the valleys are choked by a fog so thick it swallows your high beams whole. I used to think the stories about these mountains were just internet folklore, creepypastas designed to keep city folks on the main highways. I don't think that anymore, because last fall, my fiancée Emma and I lived through a nightmare that defies logic. And the worst part isn't what they almost did to us. It's the realization that they are still out there, waiting for their next check-in. It started as a desperate escape. Emma and I are both trauma nurses in Philadelphia, and the burnout was crushing us. She found an off-grid, lakeside cabin on a rental app nestled deep in the mountains. Secluded, private beach, no Wi-Fi, the perfect place to unplug. We left after our shift wrapped up at 10:00 p.m., planning to drive through the night. By 2:00 a.m., we were deep in the PA hills, and the weather violently turned. A dense, blinding wall of white fog rolled over the winding two-lane roads. You couldn't see 3 feet past the hood of our SUV. Suddenly, a bright orange reflection flashed through the mist. Detour ahead. Accident on Route 6. The GPS was completely dead. With no choice, I turned onto a narrow, unpaved logging road. The gravel crunched loudly beneath our tires as the forest closed in around us, the trees leaning over the road like skeletal fingers. Thump, thump, thump. The steering wheel violently jerked in my hands. The front passenger tire had blown out. I cursed, pulling onto the shoulder next to a steep, pitch-black ditch. When I stepped out into the freezing night air to check the damage, my blood ran cold. It wasn't a nail. A handmade spike strip, rusted roofing nails hammered through a thick piece of oak, was wedged deep into the shredded rubber. "Logan, what is it?" Emma whispered, stepping out of the car, her flashlight beam cutting uselessly into the fog. Before I could answer, 2 blinding, yellowish headlights pierced the mist behind us. A beat-up, rusted 1990s Chevy pickup crawled to a halt just 20 feet away. The engine idled with a deep, menacing rattle. The driver's side window ground down. An elderly couple sat inside. The woman had stringy gray hair and a smile that didn't reach her hollow, dead eyes. "Looks like you folks caught a bad break," she said, her voice a low, raspy drawl. "Need a lift?" Every alarm bell in my primal brain started screaming. "No, thank you, we have a spare." The large, heavyset man in the driver's seat didn't say a word. He just opened his door, stepped out, and walked to the bed of the truck, pulling a heavy, rusted towing chain out with a loud asterisk clink. Meanwhile, the old woman got out. She didn't walk normally, she inched toward us, aggressively crowding our personal space. As she got closer, a foul odor hit us, the smell of rotting meat masked by cheap chemical bleach. She started ranting wildly about the government and the land, her eyes wide and unblinking. Every time I tried to step back toward our SUV, she subtly shifted her body to cut me off, her bony shoulder literally bumping into mine. She forced me backward until I was pinned against the tailgate of their truck. Then she stopped her rant. She smiled, a horrific, wide grin that bared decaying teeth. "I want to show you something really cool in the back of my truck, sonny boy, look under the tarp." I glanced into the truck bed. A massive, heavy blue tarp was stretched across the back. Underneath it, something large and distinctly human-shaped was violently shifting. Before I could react, the woman screamed at the top of her lungs, "Paul, now." The tarp flew open. A younger man, his face smeared with dirt and grease, lunged out of the truck bed, holding a massive serrated hunting knife. He grabbed for my jacket, his teeth bared in a silent snarl. Fight or flight kicked in like a lightning bolt. I dropped to the ground, dodging his grip by inches. "Emma, run!" I screamed. We didn't run down the road where their truck could catch us. We bolted straight into the pitch-black, foggy woods, tearing through briars and branches. Behind us, I heard the frantic, enraged screaming of the old woman, followed by the heavy, crashing footsteps of the younger man hunting us in the dark. We ran blindly for what felt like miles, our lungs burning in the freezing air, until the footsteps finally faded. Through the dense trees, the silhouette of a building appeared. It was our rented cabin. The digital keypad on the door glowed a faint, welcoming blue. Hands shaking uncontrollably, I punched in the code. The lock clicked. We burst inside, slammed the heavy oak door, and threw the deadbolt. The cabin was beautiful, modern, and completely quiet. We were hyperventilating, terrified, but we convinced ourselves we were safe. The maniacs on the road didn't know which cabin we had rented. Our truck was miles back. We had no cell service, but the heavy door and locked windows felt like an impenetrable fortress. Exhausted and traumatized, we huddled together on the living room sofa, waiting for dawn. By 7:00 a.m., the sun finally broke through the morning fog. I woke up to the smell of coffee. Emma was sitting on a bar stool in the kitchen, staring blankly at the floor. "Emma, are you okay?" I asked, sitting up. She looked at me, her face the color of ash. "Logan, I didn't want to wake you, but I couldn't sleep. Around 4:00 a.m. I woke up because I felt freezing cold. When I opened my eyes, I saw a silhouette standing in the dark corner of the bedroom, just watching us. I squinted, but it was too dark. Then I heard a weird rustling noise from that exact corner. I ran out here and made coffee. I feel like I'm losing my mind." I went into the bedroom to investigate. The corner was empty, but as I walked into the adjoining bathroom, my stomach dropped into a bottomless pit. Before we went to sleep, Emma had laid out a fresh change of clothes neatly on the counter. Now those clothes were no longer folded. They were half unraveled, messy, and laid out in a single, straight row across the counter. Her socks were completely gone. "Did you move these?" I called out, my voice trembling. "No," she said, walking in. She stared at the row of clothes. "Logan, I didn't touch them." A sudden asterisk ding broke the silence. It didn't come from our phones. It came from the kitchen counter. We walked slowly into the kitchen. Resting on top of the marble island was a brand new, freshly developed Polaroid photograph. My hands shook as I picked it up. The photo was taken from an elevated angle, looking directly down at the living room sofa. It showed Emma and me, completely unconscious, fast asleep just hours ago. And standing right over us, his face obscured by a grotesque leather mask, was a tall man wearing a red flannel shirt. Written in black Sharpie at the bottom of the photo was, "Sleep tight." "We're leaving, right now," I whispered. We didn't care about our ruined SUV. We grabbed our backpacks, unlocked the front door, and decided to hike down the main mountain road until we hit civilization. But as we stepped outside onto the cabin's private lakeside beach, the fog rolled back in with a vengeance, thick and suffocating, reducing visibility to near zero. Suddenly, out of the gray mist, two figures appeared on the sand. It was a young couple. The woman was objectively beautiful, with wild, asymmetrical curly hair, wearing a light beach cover-up despite the freezing mist. She was holding the hand of a tall man with a thick beard and long brown hair tied in a messy bun. He wore an unbuttoned red flannel shirt with nothing underneath. They weren't walking past. They walked straight up to us, stopping uncomfortably close, barely a foot away. And then they just stood there. Both of them were smiling. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a wide, rigid, unblinking, psychotic grin that stretched their faces into unnatural masks. "Excuse me," Emma said, her nurse mentality kicking in, hardening her voice. "Can we help you with something? You need to back up." The woman's smile widened. In a slow, hauntingly soft voice, she said, "You two are quite beautiful, you know, very clean." "Thanks, now leave us alone," I said, stepping in front of Emma. The woman looked directly into my eyes, her smile never wavering. "No, thank you." Before I could react, another couple materialized out of the fog behind them, flanking us. This second woman had uneven pigtails and a vacant, dead look in her eyes. Her boyfriend had shaggy, matted hair. They too stood completely rigid, staring at us with the exact same terrifying, frozen grins. The first woman looked at the newcomers and giggled. "Look, a new couple for the collection." They began to inch closer, step by step, closing the circle. The psychological tension was suffocating. Nobody stands this close to strangers unless they are preparing to do something horrific. "Take one more step, and I swear to God I will end you," I roared, trying to bluff, stepping aggressively toward the bearded man. All four of them burst into a synchronized, hysterical laughter. For a split second, I thought maybe this was a sick, twisted prank. Then the laughter stopped instantly. Their faces turned into expressions of pure, unadulterated rage. The two men lunged at me simultaneously. I didn't even have time to raise my hands. They tackled me into the sand, raining heavy, brutal punches down on my face and ribs. I heard Emma screaming, trying to pull them off me, but the two women grabbed her, slamming her down onto the sand. As I lay there gasping for air, blood pooling in my mouth, the bearded man in the red flannel reached into his inside pocket. He was fumbling for something, a weapon, a syringe. I didn't want to find out. Adrenaline surged through my veins. Using the last bit of my strength, I delivered a vicious, heavy kick directly into the knee of the woman standing nearest to me. she shrieked, stumbling backward. The sudden distraction broke the men's focus for a fraction of a second. I grabbed Emma's hand, scrambled to my feet, and we ran. We didn't run up the mountain road. They had us cornered there. We ran back into the cabin, slammed the heavy oak door, threw the deadbolt, and shoved the massive wooden dining table against it. Inside the cabin, it was deathly quiet, save for the sound of our ragged breathing and my blood dripping onto the hardwood floor. Outside, there were no footsteps, no throwing themselves against the door, just total, agonizing silence. BZZZ, EDZZZ. A strange, low noise began to vibrate through the floorboards. It didn't sound like a machine. It sounded like a human being making a deep, guttural humming noise with their throat. And it was coming from directly beneath us, the basement. I realized then that the lock on the front door didn't matter. They were already inside. They had been inside the whole time. Armed with a heavy iron fire poker, I crept down the narrow, dark hallway toward the basement door. It was wide open. The dim, yellow light from below cast long, eerie shadows on the wall. The low humming noise grew louder, vibrating in my teeth. I descended the creaking wooden stairs, my heart hammering against my fractured ribs. The basement was massive, filled with rows of old storage boxes and dusty furniture. Near the back of the room, I noticed a section of the concrete wall that looked slightly altered, a hidden room concealed behind a fake shelving unit. I pushed it open. Inside was a makeshift slaughterhouse. Hanging from the ceiling were heavy metal meat hooks. On a stainless steel table sat surgical tools, jars of chemical bleach, and neat stacks of clothes. I stepped closer and saw a corkboard pinned to the wall. It was covered in dozens of Polaroid photographs of different couples sleeping in the cabin upstairs. Under each photo was a driver's license. And at the very end of the board was a blank space, with our names written underneath it in fresh black marker. A shadow shifted in the dim yellow light of the corner. I spun around, raising the iron poker. Standing perfectly still in the dark corner of the basement, right next to a stack of old boxes, was a man. He wore a red hat, a leather apron, and a red flannel shirt. He was standing so incredibly still that for a terrifying moment, I thought he was a mannequin. I took one cautious step forward, my flashlight beam hitting his face. The man blinked. His lips curled into that same wide, vacant, psychotic grin. He raised a blood-stained hunting knife. I screamed, threw the fire poker at his head, and scrambled up the basement stairs like a panicked animal. Emma, out the window now. We shattered the glass of the bedroom window and tumbled out into the freezing fog, scraping our arms and faces. We didn't look back. We ran through the dense woods, oblivious to the thorns tearing at our skin, driven purely by the primal urge to survive. Behind us, the low, guttural humming noise echoed through the trees, accompanied by the sound of multiple people moving through the brush. The whole family, the old couple from the road, the smiling strangers from the beach, the man from the basement, they were hunting us together. We hit the main highway, just as the headlights of a vehicle cut through the fog. I threw myself into the middle of the road, waving my arms frantically. The brakes screeched. It was a state police SUV. I collapsed against the hood, sobbing, pointing back toward the woods. There's a killer in the cabin. They're hunting us. The trooper immediately pulled us inside the vehicle, called for massive backup, and sped toward the location. Within an hour, the FBI and state police had completely surrounded the property. They brought us to a hospital in Seattle, where we had fled to hide. My broken ribs were taped, and my face was stitched. 2 days later, an FBI special agent entered our recovery room. The look on his face told me everything I needed to know. They had raided the cabin and the surrounding property. In the hidden bunker in the basement, forensics uncovered the remains of 11 missing people spanning over a decade. The operation was highly sophisticated. The killers had hacked into various rental accounts, listing the secluded cabin under fake names to lure out-of-state tourists who wouldn't be missed right away. They disabled their vehicles, cut off their communication, and hunted them like game. But the agent's voice dropped to a whisper as he delivered the final, bone-chilling truth. We found the bunker, Logan. We found the trophies, the cameras, and the remains. But when our tactical teams swept the house and the surrounding square mile of forest, it was entirely empty. They had vanished into the mountain fog before the police arrived. The old couple, the young smiling strangers, the man in the red flannel, none of them were caught. Emma and I changed our names, our jobs, and we live in a heavily secured, high-rise apartment building in the middle of a major city. We never, under any circumstances, book a rental home or an isolated cabin anymore. But every time the weather turns cold and a heavy fog rolls through the city streets, I find myself staring out the window, because I know that somewhere out there, deep in the woods, that family is setting up a new listing. They are cleaning the surgical tools, setting up the Polaroid camera, and waiting for someone else to check in.